Watch. December 1999. The Los Angeles Police Department begins an investigation inside the UCLA dormitories. A student named Michael McGrory has vanished. The electronic key log confirms that he entered the building at 4:32 in the morning, but inside, his room is empty. His wallet and keys are still there. His bed has not been touched. The system proves he was inside, yet the most thorough search proves he was not. For 25 years, his disappearance has remained one of the most mysterious cold cases in the city's history. Not a single witness, not a single trace. How can a young man walk into a secured building and simply cease to exist? If he was abducted, how did both the victim and his abductor leave without triggering alarms, without leaving behind a single clue? What truly happened in that blind zone between the entrance and his personal room? By the evening of December 10th, it was clear that the case of Michael McGrory had exceeded the capacity of the campus police and required the full involvement of the Los Angeles Police Department. At 8 o'clock that evening, Detective Frank Salinas of the LAPD's West Side Division was assigned as lead investigator. With 14 years of experience in missing persons, he knew the unique challenges of working within a university environment. Detective Carol Martinez soon joined as the secondary investigator, bringing expertise in technical evidence and witness interviews. Together, coordination was established between UCLA police and the LAPD through a joint task force that held daily briefings and shared access to all evidence. Because of the possibility of interstate links and potential ties to other missing student cases, the Federal Bureau of Investigation was formally notified. Resources from the LAPD included the Specialized Missing Persons Unit, forensic laboratories, and access to both state and federal databases. A LAPD technical team conducted a full-scale analysis of Dykstra Hall's security systems, searching for vulnerabilities or malfunctions. The electronic entry system was reviewed across the entire week leading up to Michael's disappearance, mapping the movement of every resident and flagging anomalies. The logs confirmed that Michael entered the building at 2:02 in the morning. No one else was recorded entering or leaving during the following 3 hours. The system functioned normally. No errors, no failures, no hacks. Every record was intact and verified. Surveillance cameras caught Michael entering, but never captured him leaving. The footage was clear enough for positive identification. Emergency exits were equipped with magnetic sensors tied to the central alarm network. Records showed no activations during the critical hours. Architectural plans for Dykstra Hall were examined in detail to identify every possible route in and out, including service doors, ventilation shafts, and underground access. The building had one main entrance, 4 emergency exits, 1 service entry for staff, and a roof door locked from within. Physical inspections verified that all points were secured. There were no signs of tampering, bypass, or forced entry. Engineers analyzed the ventilation system. The ducts were too small for an adult to pass through. Windows across all floors were also examined. On the 7th floor, they rose more than 20 meters above the ground, making escape through them nearly suicidal. Finally, basements and mechanical rooms were searched for hidden passages or concealed spaces. Nothing was found. A systematic canvassing of all 600 residents of Dykstra Hall was conducted over the course of 3 days. The goal was to gather any information about Michael's last known movements or signs of unusual activity. Interviews were carried out one-on-one and treated confidentially, encouraging honest accounts regarding social interactions, alcohol or drug use, and other sensitive topics. Special attention was given to 7th-floor residents who might have heard or seen something during those critical hours between 2 and 5 in the morning. From multiple witness statements, investigators reconstructed Michael's final timeline. They confirmed his return from a fraternity party. But after his keycard logged him inside at 2 o'clock in the morning, no one reported seeing him in the building again. His movements vanished into a void. Several students recalled ordinary late-night noises in the hallways, but none could be connected specifically to Michael or described as unusual. All video recordings across the UCLA campus from December 9th through the morning of December 10th were collected and analyzed. The footage showed Michael's normal daily routine on December 9th, attending classes, visiting the library, and eating at the dining hall, with no irregular behavior. That night, security footage captured his arrival at the Lambda Alpha fraternity around 1:15 in the morning and his walk back toward the dorms around 2:15. The very last image of Michael was recorded at 2:17 a.m. near the entrance to the student housing complex, roughly 100 meters from Dykstra Hall. Gait and behavior analysis revealed no signs of intoxication, coercion, or distress. Michael appeared composed and fully aware of his surroundings. Attempts to digitally enhance the footage yielded no additional details. The fraternity fully cooperated with the investigation. They granted access to the house, their membership records, and interviews with every student who attended the party. In detailed questioning, witnesses consistently described Michael as friendly, social, and in good spirits that night. No one recalled any conflict, argument, or unusual confrontation. His drinking was moderate, about 3 beers over the course of 90 minutes, an amount investigators judged insufficient to impair his judgment or motor skills. A search of the fraternity house uncovered no personal belongings left behind by Michael. Security footage confirmed the timeline of his arrival and departure, matching witness testimony. As the investigation widened, every medical facility in the Los Angeles area was notified of Michael's disappearance. Hospitals, urgent care centers, and the UCLA Student Health Center were checked. None had any record of him seeking treatment. Michael's health history showed no chronic illness. Regional hospitals, including UCLA Medical Center, Cedars-Sinai, and Santa Monica Hospital, were asked to check for unidentified patients. Local psychiatric facilities were also contacted in case he had been admitted under crisis circumstances or with memory loss. The Los Angeles County Coroner's Office was provided Michael's physical data for comparison against unidentified remains. Still, no matches, no medical records, and no contacts linked to him were found anywhere. Michael's banking records were obtained through a court order to analyze his financial activity before and after his disappearance. His student account showed nothing unusual: small deposits from campus employment, tuition payments, and everyday purchases of food and personal items. There were no suspicious withdrawals, no large transfers, and no transactions suggesting plans for a runaway. The family credit cards, which Michael had access to only for emergencies, remained unused after December 10th. His last ATM activity occurred on December 8th, a routine withdrawal of $20 in cash. After that, there were no signs of financial life. To investigators, the absence of any banking activity made it impossible to believe Michael had left voluntarily with the means to support himself. Detectives also seized Michael's personal computer for a digital forensic review. They searched his browser history, email, and files, looking for hints of intent, secret communications, or hidden plans. But everything pointed to an ordinary college student's life: school research, emails with friends and family, social media, the news. No disturbing messages, no threats, and no arrangements with strangers were found. Michael's phone was missing, but carrier records showed its last activity at 1:47 in the morning on December 10th, connecting to a cell tower covering UCLA's campus. No calls, no texts, nothing after that moment. Efforts to trace the device by GPS failed. It had either been switched off, destroyed, or removed from service entirely. By the third day, the search expanded beyond UCLA. Surrounding neighborhoods of Westwood and Beverly Hills were combed with search teams, supported by officers, volunteers, and trained dogs. Parks, construction sites, abandoned buildings, and other possible hiding places were searched systematically. The Los Angeles metro system was alerted. Photos circulated to station staff. Airports and bus terminals were notified, though Michael had no money to travel far. Still, every possible lead was pursued. After 5 days of intensive searching, not a single trace, no belongings, no sightings, no physical evidence was uncovered. By the end of the first week, detectives had narrowed the case into several working theories. Perhaps Michael left voluntarily, but his academic commitments, family ties, and lack of resources made the idea unlikely. Perhaps it was an accident inside the residence hall. Yet no location was found that could explain such a tragedy. A sudden medical emergency? Possible, but without a body, without blood, without any evidence, it could not be placed. That left investigators with a darker possibility, the involvement of another person, a crime.
But if foul play was responsible, how had the perpetrator pulled it off inside a building designed to keep intruders out and residents in? Even the idea that Michael might have willingly walked away with someone he trusted raised the same puzzle of logistics. Just how did anyone leave without being seen, recorded, or detected? Each theory ran into the same wall, gaps in the evidence so complete they bordered on impossible. Psychological analysis acknowledged that students sometimes face academic pressure that can lead to impulsive decisions, including the choice to walk away from school. The stress of final exams was always a critical period. Yet several factors challenged this theory. Michael was excelling academically. He showed no signs of academic struggle, emotional distress, or instability. His finances were extremely limited, less than $50 in cash, and he had no access to further resources without touching his untouched bank or family credit accounts. There was no evidence of advanced planning. His purchases, online history, and daily routines revealed nothing that suggested he was preparing to leave. No attempts to save up money, no searches for alternative housing, no moves toward another life. His family ties were strong. He called home regularly, and he had already made plans to spend the weekend with them. There was simply no motive to sever those bonds. Investigators considered every hidden possibility. Could he have been in debt? Involved in a troubled romantic relationship? Facing academic dishonesty charges? But his academic records were spotless. No misconduct, no plagiarism, no pending sanctions. His social life showed no signs of secret relationships, no romantic disputes, no emotional turmoil. Financial investigations found no gambling, no drug use, no expensive habits that could have pulled him into debt. Medical records showed no history of psychiatric illness, depression, or other mental health concerns. Professors and advisors described him as a stable, determined student with no hidden struggles. Nothing suggested a young man on the edge of collapse. The possibility of an accident inside the residence hall was also examined. The building's architecture was scrutinized: stairwells, elevator shafts, machine rooms, and the rooftop. Technicians lowered cameras into the elevator shafts. No signs of a fall, no evidence of anyone inside. Basement and rooftop mechanical rooms were searched thoroughly. Keys were required for access, and students did not have them. Engineers surveyed the ventilation system. The air ducts were too narrow for an adult to pass through. The locked rooftop door was checked, no indication it had been forced open. Medical scenarios were next. Could Michael have suffered a sudden crisis? A seizure that left him disoriented? A collapse that sent him wandering into danger? But Michael had no history of seizures. Perhaps a rare cardiac event, possible even in healthy young adults. Without a body, though, that theory could not be confirmed. Alcohol or medication reactions were also considered, episodes that could alter judgment, cause confusion, or provoke dangerous behavior. But with no physical samples, toxicology was impossible. Even the chance of an acute psychotic break triggered by stress or hidden illness was left on the table. But again, one fact remained: without a body, without evidence, every scenario ended at the same impossible wall. Michael's psychological history did not support the theory of a breakdown or sudden flight. Even in the event of a medical emergency, investigators were left with the same question: how could his body simply vanish from a secured dormitory without a trace? The possibility of foul play became the central working theory. Still, the logistical obstacles to committing such a crime were immense. For an unknown intruder to succeed, they would have had to gain access to the dorm, overpower Michael, and remove him without triggering alarms or leaving behind evidence. Analysis of security revealed one potential gap. The main entrance was not equipped with motion sensors monitoring residents exiting the building. This raised the possibility that someone could have entered as a visitor and left with Michael under duress. Investigators also considered collusion. A resident with legitimate access might have allowed an outsider inside. As for motive, robbery was raised, but Michael was not known to possess valuables. A sexual assault was also examined as a potential explanation. A chance encounter seemed unlikely in a controlled university environment, which instead leaned toward the possibility of a targeted attack. Statistics showed that most crimes against students are committed by acquaintances. This prompted exhaustive background checks. Michael's classmates, dorm residents, work colleagues, and fellow members of campus organizations were all reviewed. Investigators paid close attention to those with dorm access: residents, staff, frequent visitors. Yet no one with a criminal history or suspicious behavior was identified. Romantic motives were also explored. Michael did not appear to have a serious girlfriend, nor were there signs of romantic conflict. The possibility that a guest from the fraternity party followed him home was investigated, but the timeline and witness accounts offered no support. Social analysis portrayed Michael as a well-liked, normal college student, free of hidden disputes or tensions. UCLA's proximity to Los Angeles, a city marked by trafficking networks, led to speculation about organized crime. While young men are sometimes targeted for forced labor, the practice is far less common than the trafficking of women. Michael did not fit the typical profile of a trafficking victim. He had strong family ties, was not vulnerable, not transient, not addicted. The logistics of abducting him from a secured dorm made the theory implausible without significant resources and coordination. Furthermore, there were no reports of similar disappearances in the area. The FBI, consulted on known trafficking patterns, found no connections to existing networks. Another avenue probed the terrifying possibility of a serial predator hunting within university environments. FBI databases revealed several unresolved cases of missing students in California in the previous 5 years. Yet the patterns did not align. The circumstances of Michael's disappearance stood apart. Key behavioral markers of serial criminals, control, communication, taunting, demands, were absent. There were no ransom notes, no threats, no attempts to display power. Coordination with multiple agencies confirmed there were no active serial kidnappers or murderers specifically targeting college students in the region. Some theorists later suggested that UCLA may have suppressed information to protect its reputation, hiding crucial details of the disappearance. But records showed full cooperation. The university granted law enforcement complete access. Dorm access logs, building schematics, personnel files, all made available. Nothing suggested an institutional cover-up. In the end, even the theory of foul play, the one explanation detectives could not dismiss, remained an enigma, possible in motive, but nearly impossible in method. Financial motives for concealment were minimal. UCLA was insured and legally protected from liability. Any attempt at a cover-up would have risked catastrophic reputational damage, far outweighing any potential gain, especially under the harsh spotlight of national media attention. Independent investigations by journalists and private detectives uncovered no evidence of institutional fraud or conspiracy. By the end of the first month, it was clear that none of the major theories could fully explain Michael's disappearance. Voluntary departure clashed with his character, his future plans, and his financial reality. There had been no signs of preparation, no money saved, no alternative housing, no digital traces, making the theory implausible. An accident could not explain the total disappearance of a body from a relatively small building that had been searched from top to bottom.
A sudden medical emergency faced the same contradiction. Where was the body, and how could such a collapse occur without being seen? Theories of foul play demanded an explanation for breaking into a secure dormitory and removing a victim without a struggle, without evidence, without leaving behind so much as a single clue. With no blood, no personal items, and no physical trail, all scenarios remained speculative. The uniqueness of this case lay in a haunting paradox: a tightly controlled environment and yet a complete absence of traces. Together, it resembled an impossible crime. For Michael's parents, Elma and Maria Negrete, the nightmare began the moment they received the call. Their world collapsed. Michael was not only their eldest child, he was the embodiment of their family's hopes, the first to pursue higher education, a symbol of the American dream. His disappearance tore at the very fabric of everything they had worked for. The parents rushed to UCLA and checked into a nearby motel, refusing to leave the area until their son was found. Elma took unpaid leave from his factory job, not knowing it would mark the beginning of a 25-year struggle. Maria organized prayer circles at St. Augustine's Church in Montebello, where hundreds from the community gathered, pleading for Michael's safe return. The younger children, 2 sisters and a brother, were forced to cope with the sudden loss of their role model, the brother who guided them in school and stood as their protector. Financial resources were quickly drained in the family's desperate search, but the community of Montebello rose to support them. Funds and donations poured in. Volunteers joined searches, and neighbors rallied behind the Negretes. Still, there were challenges. Language barriers made communication with investigators and the news media difficult for Michael's Spanish-speaking parents. For many in Los Angeles' Latino community, Michael became more than just one missing student. His disappearance became a symbol. A young man on the path to success, lifted by his family's struggle, representing opportunity and hope, taken suddenly into the shadows. Organizations such as MECHA and the Chicano Student Union at UCLA mobilized to support the search and bring attention to the case. Spanish-language media, Univision, Telemundo, and local radio stations provided extensive coverage, broadcasting regular updates and keeping Michael's story alive in the public eye. Churches across East Los Angeles held special services and fundraisers to support the family's search efforts. Businesses in Montebello contributed services, printing flyers, providing transportation, feeding search parties. Local political leaders within the Latino community put pressure on law enforcement, demanding adequate resources and fair treatment for the Negrete family. In 2001, the family founded a nonprofit organization called Find Michael Negrete. Its mission was twofold: to continue the active search for Michael and to support other families enduring the agony of a missing loved one. Elma Negrete assumed the role of president, dedicating his full time to media coordination, fundraising, and guiding search initiatives. Maria Negrete managed volunteer programs and family outreach, using her experience to mentor other parents navigating law enforcement systems. The organization partnered with national groups including the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to gain access to expertise and resources. Through annual fundraisers and awareness events, the organization generated tens of thousands of dollars for ongoing search operations. But as the years passed without progress, the family decided to pursue private investigations. Their first private investigator, Robert Simons, was hired in 2002. His work focused on re-interviewing witnesses and re-examining gaps in the original investigation. In 2005, Lisa Rodriguez, an investigator specializing in Hispanic missing persons cases, was brought in to look at cultural factors that might have been overlooked. By 2010, the family had hired a team of former FBI agents who applied profiling tools and behavioral analysis, developing new theories about motive. The expenses were immense. Over 20 years, the Negretes spent more than $150,000 on private detectives, a burden carried through family savings, loans, and community donations. While these independent investigations did not deliver a definitive breakthrough, they gave the family a sense of agency and occasionally uncovered potential leads that officials had overlooked. The McGrory family also became skilled in using media as a tool of survival. They organized regular press conferences on anniversaries, birthdays, and other milestone dates, ensuring that Michael's name was never forgotten. Their case was featured on national programs such as America's Most Wanted, Unsolved Mysteries, and countless news broadcasts, drawing attention across the country. In the mid-2000s, social media emerged as a powerful ally. Facebook and Twitter pages dedicated to Michael's case gathered thousands of followers. Later, documentaries and podcasts reignited public interest, introducing the case to new generations drawn to unsolved mysteries. Over time, the reward for information about Michael steadily grew, rising from the initial $10,000 to $100,000, powered by community and business donations. After 25 years, the impact of Michael's disappearance had permanently altered the McGrory family. The search became the center of their lives, reshaping relationships, hopes, and the way they understood the world. Michael's disappearance altered the trajectory of every member of the McGrory family. Elma and Maria's marriage endured profound strain, with periods when their coping methods diverged. Yet their shared commitment to finding their son ultimately strengthened their bond. The younger siblings grew up under the long shadow of Michael's absence. It shaped their careers, their relationships, and their life priorities. All three dedicated significant portions of their lives to assisting in the search. The financial sacrifices were immense. The family exhausted their savings, delayed buying a home, and took on loans to sustain the investigation. The emotional burden took its toll as well. Elma developed high blood pressure, while Maria battled depression. Yet through the hardship, they reported that the search gave them purpose, allowing them to transform grief into advocacy and support for others enduring similar nightmares. Their struggles with law enforcement motivated them to push for reforms in how missing persons cases are handled. They lobbied for changes to UCLA police protocols, demanding faster response times and better communication with families. Work with state legislators led to improvements in California's missing persons database and mandates for more frequent family updates during investigations. The McGrory also championed stronger security measures in university dormitories, expanded surveillance cameras, stricter access protocols, and improved safety procedures. Their advocacy contributed to the establishment of support programs for families of missing persons, including counseling, legal guidance, and assistance navigating law enforcement bureaucracy. Their collaboration with other families led to coalitions with more political weight than any one family could achieve alone. As the case drew international attention, they connected with families of the missing in Mexico and beyond, exchanging resources and strategies. Because of UCLA's proximity to the Mexican border, the idea that Michael could have been transported across international lines was also pursued. The family partnered with Mexican authorities and human rights organizations to extend his case into international databases. They routinely compared his records with unidentified remains in multiple countries and worked through diplomatic channels to ensure cooperation. Cultural connections with Mexican immigrant communities worldwide also carried Michael's story far beyond Los Angeles. Although these exhaustive efforts produced no confirmed leads, they demonstrated the McGrory's refusal to leave any possibility unexplored. Over the years, the family received various forms of psychological support to help cope with the trauma of open-ended loss. Group therapy with other families of the missing provided empathy and strategies unavailable in conventional therapy. Individual counseling allowed them to address guilt, anger, and grief bound to their 25-year ordeal. Religious counseling through their church provided spiritual grounding and the strength to hold on to hope, even when circumstances seemed hopeless. Community networks, both cultural and religious, offered not only practical aid but also emotional fortitude during the darkest times. In turn, the McGrories became a source of informal guidance for other families, mentoring newcomers on how to navigate the painful and complex system. Michael's case left an enduring mark on Los Angeles' Latino community, raising awareness of student safety and the value of education. Scholarships created in his name opened doors for students from underrepresented communities to pursue higher learning. University safety programs were strengthened in part because of his disappearance, with improved emergency protocols for protecting students on campus. Organizations spread knowledge on how families can protect themselves and respond when a loved one goes missing. His case became a point of study in criminology and social work classrooms, a lesson in the intersections of race, class, and access to justice. For the McGrory family, and for an entire community, Michael's absence is more than a tragedy. It is a testament to resilience, advocacy, and the relentless pursuit of answers to one of Los Angeles's most enduring mysteries. Michael's legacy lived on through his family's tireless work to help others and through their unrelenting quest for answers. With the rise of DNA technology in the early 2000s, the McGrory family found renewed hope that one day their son could finally be identified. In 2003, they submitted their DNA samples to the National Missing Persons Database, which automatically cross-referenced genetic profiles with unidentified remains across the country. Over the following 20 years, more than 100 comparisons were conducted on remains recovered in California, Nevada, Arizona, and other states. Each test offered a heart-stopping moment of hope, followed by bitter disappointment. As forensic science advanced, new methods allowed investigators to analyze degraded samples, bringing even decades-old remains into the realm of possibility. Genealogical DNA testing, which surged in popularity around 2010, created another avenue, identification through distant familial matches. Yet despite the breakthroughs, no test has ever confirmed a link to Michael. The mystery only deepened. Over 25 years, the family received hundreds of reported sightings. Early tips came from Los Angeles, glimpses at malls, restaurants, public transport. Most were cases of mistaken identity. As the story became national, reports arrived from Texas, Florida, New York. Some even claimed sightings in Mexico, where theories suggested he might have returned to his cultural roots or been forced into labor. One of the most striking came in 2007, when a Phoenix woman reported working with a man she felt certain was Michael. Investigators discovered he was an undocumented immigrant from Mexico. The lead dissolved into another disappointment. The McGrories pursued many of these tips personally, driving thousands of miles, spending thousands of dollars, only to face heartbreak each time. The rise of the internet and social media transformed their search. In 2004, the family launched a dedicated website to centralize case information, photographs, and contact links. Platforms like Facebook and MySpace allowed them to reach younger audiences, posting updates and calls for action. Google alerts were configured to monitor any mention of Michael's name, enabling the family to react instantly to new leads. Crowdsourcing further expanded their reach. Volunteers around the world analyzed satellite imagery and public webcams for any trace of Michael. Mobile phone applications for missing persons featured his profile, making it possible for people to report sightings instantly. As years passed, digital age progression became critical. In 2008, when Michael would have been 28, the first age-progressed images were created, depicting how he might have changed over the last 9 years. Later, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children provided advanced age progressions, using computer algorithms to enhance realism.
Updated images were released every 5 years, distributed through media, social platforms, and law enforcement networks. The latest images, released in 2024, portray Michael at 44 years old, gray at the temples, lines etched around his face, subtle changes in weight. Each release generated new leads from people who thought they recognized his features, though none could be confirmed.
In 2015, Detective Lisa Martinez of the LAPD reopened the case with fresh methods. Her team applied new analyses of cell tower data and re-examined archived campus footage using facial recognition software. Geospatial modeling, based on mapping and GPS technologies, constructed possible routes and scenarios. It was another attempt by a new generation of investigators to solve what had long been called an impossible mystery. Advanced data analysis was later applied to Michael's electronic records, financial transactions, and communications in hopes of detecting hidden patterns. Computer modeling recreated Dykstra Hall and simulated the night of the disappearance, testing theories frame by frame. Cold case specialists compared his disappearance with other unsolved crimes in the region. The FBI's databases were searched for patterns of vanishings among college students across the western United States in the late 1990s and early 2000s. A handful of cases showed superficial similarities: young Latino men disappearing from campuses without a trace. Yet upon closer examination, key differences in methods, timelines, and circumstances emerged. There was no solid evidence of a single serial offender. Connections to unsolved murders around Los Angeles were investigated, but no definitive links were found. Still, interagency coordination steadily improved with the formation of specialized cold case units tasked with revisiting older files. Private investigators also put forward theories.
In 2012, John Cameron speculated Michael could have been abducted for organ trafficking, pointing to his youth and health as factors. In 2016, Susan Rye focused on the possibility of Michael being recruited into a cult that targeted college students. 2 years later, another investigator floated the theory of forced underground fighting, suggesting he may have been coerced into illicit blood sports. Others examined potential ties to narcotics cartels, where students might be exploited as couriers or money launderers. Each theory opened new lines of inquiry, but none could be backed by substantial evidence. The family worked with multiple investigators over the years, pursuing every possibility. Their search stretched beyond the United States. Collaboration with Mexican authorities included record sharing, checking unidentified remains, and following up on sightings near border cities. Interpol was notified, and Michael's case was logged into global missing persons databases. Non-governmental organizations focused on missing migrants joined the effort, and diplomatic channels were leveraged to ensure cooperation with foreign police. Communities of Mexican and Central American immigrants across the world amplified Michael's story, carrying it into places where traditional media could not. Each resurgence of media attention created a wave of new leads. In 2011, the documentary The Vanished Student introduced Michael's case to a new audience, sparking dozens of tips. True crime podcasts, including Invisible and Vanished, dedicated episodes that reached millions of listeners worldwide. Television programs such as Cold Case Files and Unsolved Mysteries periodically revisited the investigation, offering fresh interviews and analysis. Social media campaigns with hashtags and viral content kept Michael's name alive, especially among younger audiences. Each broadcast or post generated flurries of reported sightings, though most dissolved into false leads. Modern FBI profilers and private experts developed updated psychological profiles of Michael, assessing whether his personality could ever align with a voluntary disappearance. Their conclusions made it clear his character and life circumstances rendered the idea highly unlikely. Meanwhile, offender profiles were constructed based on the logistics of the disappearance, attempting to narrow a pool of hypothetical suspects. Behavioral analysts examined the impact of academic pressures on student decision-making, though the application to Michael remained speculative. Cultural factors, such as family obligations and immigrant identity, were also reviewed as possible vulnerabilities. Trauma experts considered whether he might have suffered from undiagnosed psychiatric conditions that could have influenced his behavior.
Cutting-edge technology was deployed to push the case further. Three-dimensional modeling of Dykstra Hall recreated the building to run virtual walkthroughs of the night Michael vanished. Simulations tested possible routes, timelines, and scenarios. Acoustic studies evaluated what noises could have been heard throughout the dormitory, while lighting models examined what cameras and witnesses might realistically have seen under varying conditions. These tools provided new perspectives, snapshots of what might have been. Yet despite decades of advancements, none could deliver the only answer that mattered: what truly happened to Michael Negrete. Despite 25 years without definitive answers, the Negrete family continues their search with unwavering resolve. Regular meetings with law enforcement keep pressure on authorities to pursue new leads and apply new technologies. Annual vigils and memorial events maintain public awareness and create platforms for media coverage. Collaboration with other families of the missing has provided support networks and resources to strengthen their efforts. By adapting to new technologies, new platforms, and new ways of engagement, the Negrete family ensures that Michael's case remains visible to future generations of potential witnesses. As of 2024, the disappearance of Michael Negrete remains an open case with the Los Angeles Police Department, though the resources dedicated to it are far fewer than at the start. Detective Rachel Thompson of the LAPD Cold Case Unit has served as the lead investigator since 2021. She periodically reviews the case and follows up on tips that still arrive from the public. The case file now exceeds 3,000 pages. Witness statements, technical reports, forensic analyses, and decades of investigative findings. In 2015, a digital case database was created to organize the information, allowing efficient searches and pattern tracking. Michael's DNA remains logged in national and international databases, checked automatically against newly recovered unidentified remains. The reward for information leading to resolution currently stands at $125,000, bolstered by private donors and corporate sponsors. Michael's disappearance had lasting impacts far beyond his own community. UCLA and later universities nationwide overhauled safety protocols in response. Surveillance cameras were expanded inside dormitory hallways, stairwells, and other previously unsecured areas. Reporting protocols were revised, reducing the window for official searches from 24 hours to just 6. Electronic access systems were upgraded for precise tracking, logging every entry and exit. Mandatory safety education sessions for freshmen now include personal safety and emergency response instruction. Campus-wide alert systems were introduced, capable of instantly notifying students and staff of potential threats or missing persons. Psychological services were expanded to provide counseling for students struggling with stress, depression, or other mental health issues. Michael's case influenced policy and law at the state and federal levels. In 2007, California's Missing Persons Act was passed, requiring immediate entry of missing adult data into state and national systems with no waiting period. Federal funding for search technology research increased, driven in part by the haunting persistence of unresolved cases like his. Universities came under stricter reporting requirements, including mandatory parental notification when students face emergencies. Law enforcement also changed. Specialized missing persons units were created within major departments to improve interagency coordination. New protocols addressed how police interact with minority and immigrant families, easing language barriers and cultural misunderstandings that had once slowed investigations. Detective Thompson, after years of reviewing the case, considers the most plausible scenario to be that Michael fell victim to an opportunistic criminal who managed to gain access to the dorm. Another viable theory remains that Michael voluntarily left the building with someone he trusted, but later encountered violence. Medical crisis scenarios are still reviewed, though the absence of a body continues to challenge those theories. Michael Negrete's case, after 25 years, stands as one of Los Angeles's most enduring mysteries, an intersection of family tragedy, investigative puzzle, and institutional transformation. It is a story of loss, resilience, and a quest for answers that has outlived decades, shaping not only one family, but an entire community.
Modern profilers suggest that whoever was responsible for Michael's disappearance likely had knowledge of the university environment and its security systems, perhaps a student, an alumnus, or even a staff member. The possibility that his case is linked to other unresolved disappearances of students along the West Coast continues to be explored through interagency collaboration. Evolving technology keeps the door open for answers. Artificial intelligence is now being applied to analyze the enormous volume of case data, detecting patterns and connections that human investigators may have missed. Advanced satellite imaging, including historical archives, is being scanned for potential burial sites or concealed evidence. In the future, quantum computing may allow processing of immense datasets, revealing correlations invisible today. Virtual reality recreations of the dormitory offer immersive reconstructions of the night in question, while genetic genealogy continues to evolve, promising increasingly distant familial matching. Over a quarter century, the Negrete family has become one of the nation's most prominent advocates for missing persons. Their Find Michael Negrete organization has helped more than 200 families navigate the complexities of searches and law enforcement systems. A scholarship established in Michael's name has already supported 50 Latino students in pursuing higher education. An annual conference on missing persons, organized by the Negretes, brings together experts, law enforcement, and families to share knowledge and strategies. Their activism has shaped state legislation, improved protocols, and earned recognition from human rights groups and law enforcement alike. But the personal cost has been staggering. More than $500,000 have been spent across decades on private investigators, legal fees, travel, and organizational expenses. Elma and Maria Negrete, now in their 70s, devoted much of their adult lives to the search, sacrificing career stability and financial security. Their marriage endured strain but grew stronger through a shared mission. The younger siblings lived in the shadow of Michael's absence, yet turned grief into purpose, working in fields of social justice and advocacy. The emotional toll defies measure. Still, the family insists that the search has given them purpose, and their determination to help others has prevented new families from facing the same hardships alone. Michael's story has become embedded in Los Angeles's Latino cultural memory, symbolizing both opportunity and vulnerability within immigrant communities. His case is studied in courses on sociology, criminology, and Chicano studies as an intersection of race, class, and justice. Murals, music, and poetry have been created in his honor. Oral histories of the Latino experience in Los Angeles now include his story. And every year, the community gathers to remember Michael, refusing to let his name fade. Looking forward, the family's plans include comprehensive DNA retesting with the latest methods, new partnerships with forensic programs, and expanded international cooperation. Crowdsourcing initiatives will invite global communities to comb through evidence and formulate theories, while updated digital reconstructions will continue refining potential scenarios of Michael's final hours. 25 years later, the disappearance of Michael Negrete remains one of the most confounding mysteries in modern American true crime. How does an ambitious young college student vanish from a secured dormitory without a trace? What happened in those critical hours between his return from a party and the discovery of his empty room? The absence of physical evidence, credible witnesses, or viable theories has created what many describe as an impossible crime. Still, a family, a city, and an enduring circle of supporters hold on to hope that technology or a long-buried piece of information will one day reveal the truth. Michael's story is a reminder of life's fragility, of the strength of family devotion, and of the necessity never to stop searching for the truth. Until answers are found, the search continues,
driven by love, by perseverance, and by the refusal of a family to forget their son.